from outer space coming. They did all of this. But anything the white man is given credit for, he doesn't dispute anything, because he says that he created civilization.
The bottom of that statement that Susan just read, the Mexican would call a Negro god ex-Lilton, which means blackface. He said,
right.
hey.
Yeah,
He
right.
say several.
They recall, yeah, he's the head god.
Now, the
The head
thing
god.
is that in Mexico, they have pictures of these various deities that look more like indigenous people. Now, the amazing factor of it, that Africa is present there too. But, you know, he's just saying that there's one God.
Right.
Now, anyway,
Right.
it's confusing
yeah.
in terms of studying stuff myself.
This
is confusing.
This being the chief god, when it says ex-Lilton,
It's
this
the
means
chief
black
god.
face,
Okay.
this being the chief god, you know, in Africa. Just like when you hear in ancient times, when they talk about the Egyptian god Ptah, when they talk about the Egyptian god, you know,
So the original
Osiris.
God is what you say.
You know, this was the original god in Mexico.
I hear you. It don't seem like it's implying that, but that's okay. I hear you.
You know, this was, you know, which meant black face to show that these people were black.
You would recall a Negro God.
Yeah, right.
If it says the Mexican would call the Negro God, then I would recall.
Yeah, he was called a god. Yeah, because see,
But it's one
that is
idea.
how black people were viewed by other people of color. You know, then we were viewed as gods. We were viewed as gods. Remember, I said at the beginning of this course, I said I was going to show you how we went from being perceived in the world as gods and goddesses, kings and queens, to being Negro colored, to niggers, etc. But other people respected us, our blackness, and our contributions to civilization. Who's going to read the next one? Oh, wait a minute.
Brother Pharoah, I would like for you to read that statement he just read, because his voice was kind of low, and your voice is a little heavier and carries.
Okay. It says, it is undisputable that in very ancient times, the Negro race occupied our territory, Mexico.
Meaning they had visitors.
Right. They occupied our Texaco, our territory, Mexico. The Mexicans recall a Negro god, a Negro god, ex-Lilton, which means black face. But I'm saying there were different gods there. There were different gods there. They're right. They were indigenous people. But he is paying homage to the people who were there before his people were there. Before the Mexicans were there.
Okay,
See?
well, all right.
You know, he's paying homage. All right, who's going to read the next one?
I saw in a collection in Ecuador a statuette of a Negro that is at least 20,000 years old. Some statues of the Indian gods in Central America possess essential Negro features, and certain prehistoric monuments there undoubtedly represent Negroes. Excerpt from Colonial Age.
Colonel.
Colonel. A Braggine book, The Shadow of the Land, 1940.
Now think of this. Now this is a man saying he saw a statue, you know, way back in 1940. A statue that they probably did the argon predating test that dated at least 20,000 years old. This statue was at least 20,000 years old that they found. So what was Europeans doing in 20,000 BC? That's what you have to look at. See, that's how you deal with history. You cross-reference what your people were doing versus what another people were doing and claiming that they've done A, B, and C. Okay, you cross-reference their history and look at what they were doing. In 20,000 BC, Europeans all over Europe could not read or write.
Uh-oh, yeah, but we're talking about Mexico, we're not talking about Europe.
No, but no, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I'm talking about Europeans. In 20,000 BC, they could not read or write. So what I'm saying, but African people could. And this archaeologist found this in 1940s. And so he understands that this is from a civilization or from a culture that predated his own. You know, it predated their own culture coming in.
Some statues of the Indian gods in Central America, some statues, not all statues, some statues possess typical Negro features. So the thing is that I'm thinking indigenous people, which I more so deal with as far as Native Americans, right? Most of the statues of Native Americans in Africa.
They come later. That comes later.
You mean Africans came later?
After this, yeah, they found these statues, and these statues of Indians came later.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the Native American came later. All right, who's gonna read the last one here?
No, the second to the last.
Oh, okay.
The identity of the spiritual civilizations down to the remotest details in the Sudan and in Mexico and elsewhere in America leads to the assumption that other cultural elements, identical in both continents and frequently bearing the same name, are of African origin. Excerpt of Dr. Lee Wyman's book, Africa and the Discovery of America, Volume 3, 1920.
Now think of that, 1920. Now he's talking about statues, you know, in the remotest of times, found in the Sudan. Found these same type of statues in the Sudan as well as in Mexico to show that black people is there. That's what the whole essence of what all of these scholars are talking about African people. Again, they're talking about all of these African people and what they, you know, what they found in their archaeological sites that identified them to African people. See, but they never told us this. That we are the descendants of slaves. We never contributed anything. See? So we talked about last quarter. I gave you all the paper about Africa in terms of the people who are in Africa, the literature, the documents that they found, how African people created civilization itself.
All over the world.
All over the world, how other people came to study there in order to bring it into their culture, but never said where I got it from, where I learned it from. Okay, we're going to read the last one.
The presence of Negroes with their trading masters in America before Cristobal Columbus.
That was Columbus's true name. His true name is Cristobal Colon, but they shortened it and called it Columbus.
It's proved by the representation of Negroes in American culture and design, but more specifically by Columbus' emphatic reference to Negro traders from Guinea, who trafficked in a gold alloy of precisely the same composition and bearing the same name as frequently referred to by writers in Africa. Excerpt from Dr. Leo Wiener's book, Africa and the Discovery of America, Volume 3, 1920.
Now you see that? This now, they're talking about Columbus understood that he dealt in gold-tipped alloy with these Africans that he met when he came, into Mexico and met these people. See, but they never say anything about that. But the bottom line is that even